Well, getting tired just looking at this walk again. So to do a voiceover, walking up the entrance to Ruapekapeka up north, just out of Whangarei. Yeah, come up here. I was working as an essential driver, delivering water tanks to rural properties during COVID. So I was still travelling around the countryside when the roads were empty, which was good and not so good at the same time because nothing was open. I had to take all our own supplies with us. Anyway, we're just heading up here now. Good thing about this being during COVID, there's no one up here usually. I think there's heaps of tourists usually come up here, snapping away photos and stuff. Yeah, this is which side? This would be the northeast side of the Palisades. That's the battleground that was separate from the pa. So they had the pa up the top, and they had set up their palisades and their trenches down here. Where I'm looking there, that's where the British troops, I think they came a fair bit. It was about 30 miles they had to travel, and about 30 to 40 tons of gear. They had cannons, 20 centimeter cannons, mortars, and even had rocket launchers, Chinese rocket tubes. They were coming up to destroy this pa. The Kawiti and Honi Hiki were up here. You can see the trenches on the ground. This was all, they had trenches all the way through to the pa, so they had the young men could run through supply lines. It was a fortress. I think the British come up with 1,100 soldiers. Māori only had 400. Then Honi Hiki come up with his troops. Yeah, it's pretty mean. Some information boards up here, but they obviously don't give the statistics of the site. That's the surrounding walls. The British come through there. It was just Kawiti and his troops. Not sure of the actual casualties of the British forces, but Kawiti was trying to draw the British out into a fight into the forest. I think differing accounts. I think there were 50 to a couple of hundred. Yeah, mean presence up here. Some places do. They have a presence to them. Like you can just feel that energy, that spiritual energy. Yeah, it's pretty mean. I think we're going to hopefully they still have the exhibit at the Auckland Museum. They've got this table that has the whole layout of Ruapekapeka and some history to go with it. Back to the trenches. Yeah, they were because they could fire above their heads. The rockets and the cannons wouldn't have done anything. I think Honi Heke he had a 20. He had a, I don't know what they call 20 pounders, 20-pound cannon, and a couple of mortars. And they were armed and supplied by the British as well. So Honi Heke and Kawiti, they were well supplied through the Māori land wars. And here we go. Here's one of the cannons that they carried up there. It was destroyed. Yeah, imagine that. I think it was about 50 tons the British carried up. And I have the sneaking suspicion that the scouts that they used were leading them on a bit of a tiki tour to demoralise them. And they had scouts attacking these supply lines while they were coming up. While that was going on, Kawiti used his force as a strategic retreat of the power site, because they were coming into the pretty much, well, coming with 50 tons worth of gear. There's only one outcome. They come to destroy the power, because they were getting, I think after Honihiki cut down the flagpole, they were getting a pressure from the Pākehā settlers at the time, and the newly formed government under, was it Grey, Governor Grey, when the capital was in Auckland, if I remember rightly. Well, not from the time. But yeah. Where am I now? Yeah, it's pretty mean. I don't know if you can download this video and put it on big screen. Yeah, this was a good this was one of the big turning points, the conflict at Ruapekapeka. Yeah, differing accounts of the history depending where you're getting your history from, which side. Yeah, it's amazing though. And this is the Waitāpu side. So I'm heading up to the par side up the top. I'm not going to go in. Just go up and pay my respects. Say a little karakia, and I ever talk to my ancestors up here, and yeah. See that there's the supply lines. So they ran all the way up to the par, and that's where they could go. All of these trenches were connected. This was before World War One. They actually, I mean, the Māori didn't invent trench warfare, but the British had a good understanding from the Māori of how it works, and yeah, they carried over until World War One, and they started using that as more of a military tactic than they did before. I mean, you go back to the Romans and Greeks. I think trench warfare was around, right, about 500-600 BC. So yeah, it's been around a long time, but it hadn't been utilised in modern warfare until the British. Well, not by the British, until they come over here. And yeah. Oh my gosh, who's that guy? Just as well I ain't got that camera light. Truck driving apps. Anyway. Fast forward. Blah 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 blah. All the random thoughts coming out of my head, which I had to mute. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, carry on. Yeah, they still have. There's a memorial. Yeah, I'm not going in there. I think yeah, this is right slam bam at the start of COVID lockdown. So yeah, this was. I had a few deliveries up here, and I was just down the road, so that was me. I've always wanted to come up here. I come here years ago and on one of my trips, but I never come to the site. I went down the other side, and I think I might have walked about half the distance the British did, because I got lost and yeah, had to trek back. I think there's a park on the other side with picnic tables. That's like leads towards the Bay of Islands. Yeah, all of the great tacticians, all of the great war leaders they weren't young men. Kawiti and Honihika, that was like, I think Kawiti was in his 50s or 60s. Onieka wasn't a young man. What was it? Don't want to bring up that guy, but Rommel, he was one of the great German generals, and he said, give me a Māori battalion and I'll win this war for you. The guy we went, his boss, the guy we don't talk about. Anyway, so even back then he was a student of war tactics from all over the world, and that's the respect he had for the tactics of the Māori indigenous people of Aotearoa. I don't know what's going on here. I think I'm going to cut this video. This goes on for ages. Just fast forward. Clip. Yeah, later.